Okay. Here you go.
Good afternoon, County Administration. Serena.
Hello. I was in there a couple months ago, probably back in. Did you say your name is Serena?
Yep, my name is Serena. What can I
Okay.
do for you?
I spoke with the assistant administrator, I do believe, and I can't remember what her name was. I have the. So let me go to my email and figure that out.
Are you referring to the Assistant County Manager, Lorena Dellinger?
No. Let me go to my email real quick, and I've been trying to send some emails. I went in and I was speaking with the administration office in Tonopah. Is that the office I have here today?
Yes, sir.
Let's see, sent. Thank you for being patient with me. I was calling about a matter of public importance today that would be something to do with the county administration. Sent. I think it's being backed up. Where's the name? Scottson. Is it Scott? Scottison?
So my name is actually, so that's my first and middle initial, and
Oh.
my last name is Audison, so it's S.V. Audison.
Okay, thank you, Miss. I only spoke with you, so that must have been you I spoke with. I only spoke with you for a second, and then you gave me your email and everything to send to if I had any matters. And I don't know whether I didn't get any emails back from you for the emails I sent, but at the same time, there's a couple matters that have come up, and it has to do with the changing of certain offices here in Gabbs, Nevada. I believe the water lady's a different water lady now. And I believe that there's a public works guy that's a younger guy that I've never met before, but I seen him today. I was just calling.
What were the issues?
Huh?
What kind of issues were you having?
Well, the very first issue is the fact that Nye County is supposed to be mediating our local goings on, and we've had a couple office changes, and that are apparent to me because there's a couple new people, and I'm just worried that Nye County hasn't properly even introduced the public service agents that they're sending into our area before we even have a chance to deal with them. You see what I'm saying?
So what we can go ahead and do is have you email my admin email, and that way I can distribute the complaint. What I would do is I would forward it to I would probably forward it to the assistant county manager, the county manager, the commissioners, and I would also copy Public Works in the town of Gabbs.
Yeah, I'm having a really hard time with. There's a Miss Susan Rao. Are you familiar with that? It says code enforcement. It says code enforcement.
She's a code enforcement officer?
Well, she's a public service agent calling herself a code enforcement officer. Under her agency, she's allowed to call herself a code enforcement officer, but she's a mere public service agent under the executive branch, under the State Department, under the State Cabinet. She's acting as... it just says here on this letter that one of my neighbors let me read. There's something that's very sinister going on right here, and this Susan Rao has signed her name down to it, and it's saying that that they're claiming that that this guy's property had been inspected, and then it's trying to claim that and found to be in violation of the following regulations, where public services are to serve the public and mediate things that are going on in public. Public service was never intended to regulate private property. And this is trying to say how many cars the guy can have. It's trying to say how big the fence is supposed to be. This is all highly unconstitutional. This says that It says that Nye County thinks that they can pick how many what's considered going to be considered wrecked or dismantled. Even they think that they're calling Nye County's on this letter admitting to calling the people's property, which they don't believe is junk. Do you see the impropriety in that?
Yeah, so something that I could also do, if you wanted to submit these complaints via email to me, is I could also forward it to your commissioner of your district, which would be Bruce Jabor, and have him look into it if you wanted him to look into it further for you.
Yeah, the thing is the government promised to serve and protect the people, and what I've noticed in the lack of the camera and the lack of the accountability, now we're in a digital era where there's cameras on everyone, where there's cameras everywhere, and I just wanted to point out the fact that there's cameras everywhere, and now we can record our public agents in the course of their public duties a lot easier than we could have in the past. And there's certain aspects that have been introduced into the public service, the way they've been training each other, and what it says in the papers and how they've been training each other to act towards the public is two different things. And there recently has been this single lady here in Gabs that brought to my attention that there's a guy outside of her house taking pictures, but the guy was public service agent Jim Basinger. And then I went down and took pictures of Mr. Basinger's property, and he's got all sorts of what I could consider junk. And that's totally improper of a public service agent to go around considering other people's property junk while he himself is having junk. As a matter of fact, his entire house is junk. If he's going to sit there and call any one of my neighbors' property junk, his property is also that of junk. And these are the natural things that I would like to remind any county worker, any county public service agent that was working for a state department under the agency Nye County, to realize that they can't sit there and have junk and then call other people's stuff junk. That's totally that's an act of impropriety. When I look at the Nevada Commission on Ethics, are you here with me, Mrs. Autison?
Yep, I'm here. I'm listening.
When I look at the Nevada Commission on Ethics, it says a public office is a public trust and shall be held for the sole benefit of the people. And it says a public officer or employee must commit himself to avoid conflicts between his private interests and those of the general public whom he serves. And going further into the Nevada Commission on Ethics, I think it's under the 2010 or 2014. I think it's the 2010 manual under the Nevada Commission on Ethics. It says conflicts of interest can interfere with basic principles of fairness, everyone having the same burdens and benefits in our society. A public office may have many opportunities to take unfair advantage of his or her position or to gain a benefit at the expense of others. When public officers and employees ignore their conflicts of interest, the public trust becomes undermined. The public can lose faith in the integrity of government and the decision-making process, and that's apparent and That's apparent and actual being happening right here in Gavs, Nevada. The public service agents, and for the longest time, have been attempting to treat the public as if they own our public. And I've had I had phone calls with Mr. Tim Dahl, where Tim Dahl was trying to call our public easements Nye County easements, and that's an act of private gain for agent or agency. Is Tim Dahl trying to privately gain for himself, or is he trying to privately gain for Nye County agency as a whole? At this point, all I can tell is that there's massive impropriety happening.
Yeah. So something that I can also recommend is, have you spoken with the Gabs Town Advisory Board about
Well, the
the
Gavs Town Advisory Board is totally inept, has already shown acts of impropriety in and of itself, and the people that are on the board down there are further attempting to act as if the public owes them something.
Okay, yeah. So did you want to go ahead and submit a
I would
form
like
with
all of
these
this.
issues?
Anytime I call in to my public officials, it's a public line. So I would like my public phone call to be recorded. You see what I'm saying? You see,
Yeah.
for the longest time, we have been giving complaints to our public service agents, and the public service agents have been making us fill out the paperwork. And that's just not the way it is supposed to be. I don't have duty to fill out a bunch of papers. All I have to do is provide the evidence to the employee, and the employee is getting paid tax money to file these papers, to fill out this evidence, and to make sure these movements are furthered through the acts of due process as they should be, provided the promise from the United States government to serve and protect the people.
Yeah. So what I can
There's
also
been an
do-
instance, Miss, where my family needed temporary restraining orders against a lady that actually had committed crimes against us, who was in a trial process, which should have an injunction placed on them, because they had actually shot at one of our family members, and they should have an injunction placed on them by the court. All we should have to do is provide the evidence, and we should have to state the complaint. Now, all that stuff, what we got in return was they wanted us to fill out like 24 packets of individual temporary restraining orders. And to this day, our family still does not feel as safe as it should, via the promise that the United States government made to the people. I don't know about the personnel feelings of some of the employees or agents down there at Nye County. But I do know that the government had formulated a promise, and these people, if they don't want to fulfill the promise, they're showing acts of impropriety, and they should be replaced.
Yeah. So can I go ahead and submit a complaint form to you, so that way we could get all of this in writing?
Well, we have the ability to record the phone call, and that's in writing, because you can put the closed captions on, and then it's right there in writing. It's a public record. Public notice is a public, public record. A video record is a public record. It's a since this phone call took place on a public phone, it's a matter of public information and also of public interest. So I already know that the public service agents, via policy, record the phone calls. So, I've got many. I've talked with Mr. Cobb, or public service agent Chad Cobb, about some of these things on video, and I still haven't been able to find out if any of these things that I have shown him are even being due processed upon.
Yeah. So something that I can do right now for you, if you wanted this phone call to be submitted, since our phone call is a public record, and you wanted to submit this as your complaint, I could go ahead and forward you to our Public Records Department, and you could work with them on how to go ahead and do that.
You know, since we're living in a digital era where these things can be easily done digitally, the way the transfer of information so easily, I think that would be a pertinent thing for the public service agents to do automatically as a service to the people, is to completely stay up on the times as much as possible and learn how to grow for the sole benefit of the people. It does no good to force the people to attempt to prosecute these things through the due process when we've already paid the public service agents to process this stuff. And it's just blatant impropriety when it shouldn't even be. We should all be a part of the community, whether we're the poorest person all the way up to the person who believes in their heart that they're the most powerful. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This thing right here, it's very important. This Nevada Commission on Ethics. I didn't write it. I have problems in my life that that the people have already. We try to get help for our problems, but it seems like the government public service agents are not trying to seek help for their problem. In fact, they're not even trying to admit that they have a problem. And the government implements like courses and classes like AA or NA, where you're to go in there and admit that you have a problem so that you can fix the problem. And this Nevada Commission on Ethics, it is important for public officers and public employees to avoid apparent as well as actual conflicts of interest at every opportunity. An actual conflict is a situation where the public officer or employee knows that his or her judgment is likely to be compromised, whereas an apparent conflict is one where a reasonable person might think that the public officer or employee's judgment is likely to be compromised. So when we have Mr. Basinger coming around here compromising our judgment on the impropriety of the government that's working around us, and then when I see a new employee like this guy that was just out here in the public alley digging around underneath the dirt and looking for a public utility, when I see him out here performing, I'm wondering, is this guy trained by Jim Basinger? Is this guy trained by the other public service agents that were inept and were attempting to treat our public as if they owned it? This is the things I'm wondering, and I'm making full record of these things. These are private recordings of the public service agents, which I have the right to record my public service agents in the course of their public duties. So if you guys ever want a recording, I'm always willing to. If I choose, I will turn that evidence over to you guys so that you guys can make a better judgment on how to better serve the public trust.
Yeah. So, since you do believe that there are many
Acts of impropriety?
Yes. Have you tried to contact the Nevada Commission on Ethics and file a complaint so they could start an investigation?
Yeah. Part of all this stuff is that, it starts with you, the public service agent, and yes, I am in the works of attempting to further all of the better communications between the public and the public service agents. So while I could tell you that yes, I have attempted to contact many public service agents that are acting under the agency state of Nevada. I always like to. I've been known to not like the public service agents, but the only problem with that is that I believe that the papers, like the Nevada Commission on Ethics, was written for a purpose, and it was to be for the sole benefit of the people, the people of the public, and that bad actors in the past, where there wasn't an opportunity to record them as much, were acting towards bad impropriety, and nowadays the cameras have caught up, but the training is still being to where you guys. The last 30 years of training has basically trained public service agents how to get indicted for acts of malice and other things that are happening based on the fact that public service agents have basically been training each other how to treat the public as if we owe the public service agents something. And that's not true in any way, shape, or form. And it's actually the reason why our governments and our people are having so much at odds in a time when it shouldn't, you know?
Yeah. So I do know that the administration's process for complaints is in writing.
Well, this thing is happening faster than the complaint process. So I would suggest speeding up the process, because this guy that got this letter, he's one of my neighbors, and he knows that I have a voice, and he knows that I stick up for my neighbors, and this guy has never been my friend before in my life. He comes up to my house and wants me to look at this letter, and this letter is a full-on intimidation. At the bottom, it states this letter is fully unenforceable on its face. It claims NCC 1704850, which is some Nye County code, but it's blatantly against the rights of the people. We have the right to own property. We have the right to move our property about public. We have the right to use our property. We have the right to buy, sell, trade our property. We have the right to dispose of or otherwise abandon our property. And finally, we have the right to regulate, enforce, and defend our property. And not least, let me add that we have the right to profit off of the usage of our property, and we have the right to intend the usage of our property. This letter right here is saying that you may have two unregistered vehicles. Well, people don't call their private automobiles unregistered vehicles. This is being. I should not be forced to like Donald Trump. I should not be forced to like Joe Biden either. That same as I should not be forced to call my car an unregistered vehicle just because a county agency is attempting to scare people out of their own property. This is saying you may have two unregistered vehicles in the front of your property. All others must be stored at the rear of the property behind opaque fencing at least 6 feet high. Please move all unregistered or inoperable cars to rear of property and store out of view of the general public. The county, for one, has no idea what these people own their properties for, what they are intending. Why would you acquire a piece of property if you didn't intend to use it? And how is the county going to try to attempt to tell people what their intended usages of their own property is? It would be unconstitutional. It would be unlawful. And this letter says courtesy notice. It's just a courtesy notice. And it's saying all over it compliance. That word compliance, insubordination is key to freedom. And compliance is against the very nature of freedom. You cannot force people to comply. Compliance, if I forced you to comply with me, you would not like that one bit at all. And that very word compliance is an act, a breach of the peace against the people.
Yeah, so something that I can do, if you wanted to speak to somebody further about these ordinances, I could go ahead
No.
Okay.
I'll speak with the people about the ordinances. I've showed many of our neighbors what Nye County is attempting to do. Okay, down here on the bottom of this note, it says it says it's a compliance notice. Down at the bottom of this, it says 2018 International Property Maintenance Code (IPMC). So that's not even Nye County's codes. So Nye County is attempting to enforce stuff that isn't even. This is highly egregious and against the sole benefit of the people. It says transfer of ownership. It shall be unlawful for the owner of any dwelling unit or structure who has received a compliance order or upon whom a notice of violation has been served to sell, transfer, mortgage, lease, or otherwise dispose of such dwelling unit or structure to another unit. The provisions of the compliance order, or it says until the provisions of the compliance order or notice of violation have been complied with, or until such owner or the owner's authorized agent shall first furnish the guarantee, transferee, mortgagee, all this, leasee. This is highly unconstitutional. This is the man that got this letter. He was sitting at his home being peaceful, and all of a sudden Nye County sends him a letter over the mail that says that they're going to keep his home until he complies with their wants and demands. And then this is an imposition on somebody that has not acted unlawfully. So Nye County, under this Susan Ryle, is attempting to bar this man from his property when he has not even committed a crime, which is an act of that's an act of impropriety against him. That's against Title 18, Section 241, 242. They're conspiring against his rights, and then they're actively saying that that Nye County is willing to enforce these acts of imposition against a free man who has not even committed a crime.
So what would you like me to do for you?
I would like Nye County to cease and desist from these letters of threats to my neighbors. I'm going around my town with this letter asking all my neighbors who has one. And I asked all my Richie neighbors around here, and neither one of the Richie neighbors got one.
Yeah, so something that I can do is transfer you to the DA's office, and they can talk you through the process of maybe filling out a form to do a cease and desist on any of these.
No, I'm doing it. I'm doing a public notice right now. This recording is a public notice. It's notifying the public service agent that of their acts of impropriety and asking them to cease and desist from these acts. Our neighbors should not be getting these threat notices through the United States Postal Service or any other form of mail. This is very egregious. I have a want to photocopy this form, change the information to the information that I would need it to be, and then serve this form back upon others. Why is...
I don't believe that our phone call right now is being recorded. We do not record.
You should be recording it. It's a public service. It's a public service to record this public phone call.
So it is your public right if you wanted to set your phone on speaker and you could record.
I don't have these conversations with public service agents. It's always my right to be able to record. You should always you should always expect when you don't think you're on a recording, you might be on 3 recordings.
Yeah. So we don't record phone calls.
No,
and I provided you with
that would be an act
methods
against
to
policy.
Submit a formal complaint. I'm unable to assist you any further.
You're being coached now, and now you're starting to provide a disservice instead of a service. You're saying you're unable instead of you're able. See, when you're unable to do something, miss, then you should get a job in the private sector and no longer, or it's not even a job. Government is not a business. You guys are not even supposed to be acting for private gain. Government is a trust, and the officers of the government are trustees, and both the trust and the trustees are created for the benefit of the people. Society demands for moral authority and character increase as the importance of the position increases. Always do right. This will gratify some and astonish the rest, miss. While your bosses are, while you're trying to gratify your bosses, Nobody should be trying to line their pockets by serving in a public trust. When the phone call goes off, then I'm going to continue narrating for my audience, and then when they finally hear the phone call where you guys were inept and did not want to provide a service, and that you guys actually actively said that you cannot help, you cannot provide a service, then, you know, there it was, people. They ended the phone call without even me wanting them to. That was Autison. She should not be trying to perform a service in Nye County ever again. She just hung up on the people. She just hung up on everybody. She just hung up on you guys. You know, she just hung up on every single one of you that would wish to have accountability in this nation. A nation of laws, might I ask, remind you. All right, people. I'm going to try to get this video uploaded.